still need to use this thing. Good morning. You good? Yes. I just wanted to show you this one. Some of the group yesterday and the group over there were discussing slow media, remember? I just wanted to show you, this is one of, we have a broadcaster in Norway called NRK. It's a state-owned broadcaster, one of the best actually. It's the best in Norway. I don't know if it was a coincidence, but one summer in 2009, I think, they had this idea. Probably they had one of the sister channels that were empty of content, and they just wondered, okay, what should we fill it with? And ended up with this idea of mounting a camera on the train going over the mountain from Oslo to Bergen. It's like 6-7 hours of train ride, and they just published it, broadcasted it hour by hour, minute by minute, the whole trip, and it was a huge success. People were watching the whole trip through tunnels, the whole trip, and then they realized that there is a need for this stuff, this slow TV where kind of that is just the opposite of what we offer normally, because everything else is sleek and polished and quick. This mic is cutting all the time. Let's try this. Okay? No? No? Oh, okay. I don't need to make the pain worse by having a mic that sticks out. So the next thing they did, I think it was the next thing, was it's a ship line going from the southernmost part of Norway all the way up to northern Norway along the coast. Takes days. So they mounted camera on the ship. Actually had a team, several teams, so they made a production of it. So it's called Hurtigruta, which is kind of it's an old line, very famous, fantastic. If you have time and lots of money, I can recommend it. It's a fantastic journey with great nature. So, and they broadcast this every minute of the trip for days and put it on the screen. And again, it was a huge success. And this has actually been a format. So they have sold the idea and the format and know-how to lots of channels around the world. So there is a demand of this slow media, apparently. If you want to create a new channel, you could probably, lots of ideas. You could mount a camera on a donkey. I have a special love for sheep, so we could mount a camera on some sheep and all the summer and have it as a program. So we could check this out. It's hours and hours of great entertainment for you guys. By the way, do you think this will be a success in Ukraine?
Yes.
You think it?
Yeah.
Okay, so you like the idea?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like thinking, I expected you to think this was a crazy idea. But it's what I like about it is the guys that did this had kind of the guts to do it. They had this crazy idea, And they just push it through because they believe that why not do it? Like let's test it. Let's see what's happened, and then great stuff happens. Even more than they probably expected. And that's kind of the spirit, to have the vision and just let's go for it. You need to believe in ideas. You need to dare, because the chance of this being a disaster was quite high. But then push it through and do it. Okay. Of course, we could watch this for several hours. We could see what's happened here, for instance. Nice mountains, this is a fjord. And you can see, by the way, all the ships that are... So there were people everywhere. There was a party everywhere. There were lots of boats and people meeting, and there were band playing all around the coast, and people were waving, and it was a really... Yeah, you can see. This is just a bridge passing through. So it's a great kind of like a unity thing. This was something that actually made people come together, and it created a sense of proudness and let's do this together stuff. And they only did it for themselves. So it was a great idea and a great thing. So let's see. Where am I? Okay. There we go. I've actually been thinking a bit about yesterday. What we did is, I said, like, you can't do everything that is in the book. That you can't do everything that is in the theory, because the world is moving so fast. So we've kind of just to update your plan would be a nightmare because everything is just happening. But still. I call it what you have to do when you work strategically in media and everywhere is kind of thinking high and thinking low. And by thinking low, I'm still referring to what you think is very important, understanding the needs. As low as you get in the talking with people. And then thinking high, I refer to the scenario. What's going to happen? What do you believe in? What will probably happen? And when you combine those, you have kind of lots of stuff. And of course, and then you have everything else. You have the understanding of your strength and your weakness and everything that you will find in the book. But that's just in the back of your head, or you can make it into a seminar or something. But something, what I was thinking of last night was kind of the impression you guys give me of, how should I put it? You seem to be, you don't seem to have high hopes for the future of the media industry and the country in general. Is that kind of correct? Put in other words, you seem to be a little bit depressed. Is that, you are nodding?
Yeah, things are going tough now. We have war and this kind of stuff, and we're quite depressed because of it.
Yeah, and I understand that.
You don't know what will happen tomorrow.
Yeah, but it's kind of striking when I come from a country with no worries. So it kind of make you thinking. But also you also, but what also strikes me, but it could be wrong, is that you feel that it's not much you can do. Is that also true? Yeah? I think that's wrong. Really. I think that there's so much you can do, and it's so many possibilities and especially you that are engaged in the media industry and you take this education and you have these paradigms that are happening all the time now in technology-wise, with all the tools. So there's every possibility in the world to actually change stuff. And in the same time, you point towards kind of a media industry that is stuck in its old ways, controlled by oligarchs that see no reason to change. You point to an audience that are not that quality, how shall I put it? But anyway, I think what you kind of seem to be depressed about is also something that you could see as a huge opportunity. It's kind of a market opportunity. It's there for you to change. You're kind of in your 20s, right? You should just go out there and change this stuff. So many possibilities. And it's possible. It's possible to have a vision. And it's possible to collect people around that vision and to make it true. And there, you have some benefit that generations before you didn't have, because now you don't need a press. It's like you don't need millions of dollars to get started. If you have a computer and a good idea and you burn for something, you could actually get things going and you can start to change. And that's something that is so new. But it's not that new. It's like this happened 10 years ago. And you can see the examples all around you. Now you have the influencers, right? I guess you have them here in Ukraine too. Yeah?
The opinion leaders, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, like the guys and the people with hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram or Telegraph or what else, or what it had to be. They are media houses in their own right. But the question is, how do they use their power of influence? Do they use it to sell goods and brands and make young people wanting a new nose or thicker lips or whatever they do? Or do they do it? Or do they use their power to influence people and to kind of create a movement? There's so many examples that it's actually possible to do things, and if people believe in stuff, and I guess when you decided to enter into the media industry in somehow or to study this, you probably had some idea that you wanted to be part of something that could change stuff, or not. You just want a good job.
Maybe we just searching that ways. Maybe we just searching for that ways. We don't know what we would like to do, but we searching these ways.
Okay, yeah, maybe, but change it because you can, and you could use that to kind of, and it's not like you need to suffer but like let it at least know that it's possible. It's really possible now. It's possible to kind of create a media house with almost nothing. Only you need talents. You need kind of the fire inside to deliver and to create and build from nothing. But then it's possible, and people do this every day. So it's definitely possible. And this is new. It's like, I remember like 6 or 7 years ago, we noticed that there was a 16-year-old girl in the town I was living in. Actually, I knew her father, and she alone had created an audience that was almost as big as the second largest or third largest newspaper in Norway, just with her blog. And that was kind of an eye-opener for us. So we, the third largest newspaper, they had like 250 employees. She was 16 years old, writing her blog with her laptop. So it's possible. That's only what I really wanted to say. So I was thinking, I just wanted to check on this with you. And we are not going to start now, and you could also tell me that this is a bad idea and I can change plan, but I have 4 options for you guys that I would like you to work with later on today. One of them, and you could choose one, but it could also be combined. One of them is referring to what I'm discussing now. So let's say you wanted to change stuff. How would you go about to do that? What's opportunity there? What's a strategy that you would pursue in order to actually make a difference? How could it be possible? What would you need? What kind of strategy? How would you do it? That's kind of, I just wanted to kind of burn around in your head for a while. Then the second option, this is something I have used when I work with old organizations, like old newspapers. Because it's so hard if I ask people that is employed in a newspaper with a 150-year-old history and ask them, how can you improve? How can you innovate? How can you change the way you actually work? How can you answer your audience needs in new ways? It's so hard for them. So hard. They maybe come up with a new design on their paper version or a new routine on how they could be better to publish online content, but nothing radically new. But I have learned that this approach is much better, because when I ask them, okay, you imagine you're going to quit, and then you are going to outcompete your existing newspaper. How would you do that? And immediately they know how they would do that, because they know the weak points, they know where they struggle, they know everything that is kind of cumbersome and inefficient. And then they very soon come up with a very innovative plan. And then I ask them, okay, so you know how people can outcompete you. Why don't you do it yourself before someone actually do this stuff? So this is something I can invite you to try. Choose a target. You will have unlimited technology resources. You could build whatever you wanted. I can deliver it from Innocom. You will have, but you will not be able to hire a lot of people, because if you're allowed to hire a lot of people, then you will not be forced to think innovative, and you will be coming up with unsustainable ideas. Because if you want to build a successful media industry now, you need to think differently, and you need to see how you can utilize other sources, how you can collaborate with your audience in new ways, and that's so that you can produce more, and so that you can focus the people you actually have in the newsroom on what's really matter. They should do the important work. They shouldn't be spending their time on stuff that is already out there because people write it. they should spend their time on something that really, really matters, like investigating journalism or hard stuff. Okay, so this is, do you have questions, by the way?
Not yet.
Not yet, yeah. And then option number 3. That's something I really, really would like you to tell me. So that's why it's here. But it's also because I think it's important, and I think it also could be part and combined with the first option, build a new media organization that really can change stuff, and that is a membership model. So, to describe kind of what will happen if you really, really look into how to build a news organization based on the membership model. How you organize it, how will the model actually influence how you deliver, how you work, the total operation. Is it possible? I work with some organizations in the US. They are really looking into this. And there is initiatives in the US that have started a membership model locally and regionally. I wouldn't say that what they do is very different from a subscription model. They're just, in my view, they just call it a membership model, and people pay the membership, but it seems to be a success as just the same. But in my view, they haven't really dived into it. They haven't exploited the possibilities that is there, and that's why you guys could be you could be kind of leading in the world if you look into this and come up with good concepts. So this is, and then you have the fourth option, and that also refers to something we discussed yesterday about trust. Because, and you're not the first one telling me this in this country, that trust is an asset that is not there. And trust needs to be deserved, it can be built. And then the question is, how can you build trust between the audience and the news organization? And in this, I don't think we need to build trust nationwide, but trust between the readers or members and the organization. How can you build it? Step by step. So can you just keep this in your head, and then I will move into something else, and then we will revisit this, and after thinking about it, you feel free to tell me that this is a really shitty idea. Please continue something else. And then I will try to come up with something really even worse. Business models. We haven't discussed the business models a lot. And business models is really, really important, because if we try to build something and we are not an oligarch, we need to finance our operation. Change and innovation and business models are tightly interwoven. So we need to know, are you familiar with the Dublin model and research? Dublin? Yeah? No. Okay. It's interesting. It's someone wanted to take a look into how organizations spend their resources, and then they divided it into finance, the processes, the offering, the products or the services, or the delivery. And then they split it into business model, networks and alliances, partnerships and that kind of stuff, enabling processes, core processes, product, yeah, you can reuse yourself. So, and then they tried to, or not even tried, what they did was they studied thousands of organizations and they measured two things. How much resources do they use on each of these areas, and what did it bring back? So let's say you do innovation and you change part of this, and what was the ratio of payback there? And since you're not familiar with this, you could take a guess. Where do you think organizations put most effort into innovation and change of these areas, normally?
Offerings?
Yeah, offerings. In the product. So this is where most organizations focus. When they start to work with their business and their idea, they use almost all the resources on the product or the service. Where do you think it's the highest return? Where you get the most out of your effort overall?
Customer experience.
No. It's not a bad guess. It's business models. So when you put resources into rethinking your business models, that's where the change really happened. So they made, if you search this on the net, you will find so many variants of this thing, but they're much the same. So you can see this is effort, this is what it gains. And this is effort, this is what it gains. But this tend to be blind spots. We tend to believe that the stuff we do today, and that's why I think that looking into changing the subscription model is interesting, because it's another business model, and it's another business model that also inflicts or comes with a total new way of thinking, new way of new relationships and stuff like this. So this is quite interesting, and very interesting to be aware of when you do business strategy and to focus, where to focus, and make sure that you don't have these blind spots. Because this is what people understand. Like, this is kind of the fun stuff. To improve the product 5% or 2% or whatever. But it's not really people, it often do not do a huge difference. Cheers. We try to do this exercise in our company. We have an app, a news app, probably the best in the world, and we're selling it to local newspapers. And we sell it with a typical business model, and that business model is a one-time fee to set it up, and then it's a license fee yearly to just have it there. And for us, it's some problems with the business model. One, it's a huge decision for a newspaper and a small organization to invest in the app. It's a huge investment just to have the running costs, because most of the newspapers are really struggling with their finances, so they look into all aspects of their operations and try to cut costs. So So what we propose for them is to add the new costs. Thirdly, for us, it's a problem because when our customer have a success, it doesn't really inflict on our, so we get the same payment if it's a huge failure or if a huge success, which is kind of, we want to be in the same boat as our clients. So we are looking for new models where it's easier for the newspaper to say yes, and where the more users they get, the more we actually earn. Something we're looking into right now, yes?
Yeah, but then you should put like this product innovation into the business model. For
Yeah.
example, like additional value or whatever.
Yeah, we do
Working
that.
on your product.
Yeah, we do. And that's where we're looking. So where we're looking now is exactly here. So we're looking into, okay, how can we lower the threshold? How can we think differently? And thoughts that we are discussing, actually we discussed it last night, was like, we know that content marketing is a huge source of revenue for many. And actually, last week I discussed with the owner of a company that do networking, so they deliver content marketing to media houses, and they have a network of companies that are willing to pay for the clicks, and they pay $1 for each click, and that's pretty high. So we were thinking, okay, what we could do, we could deliver the newspaper for free to the newspapers, and they say the only thing we need this 6 placement for good quality branded content, and then we split the money between us. So not only will it benefit us and it will be free for you, but you will also have a revenue. And if that works, it could hugely impact the way we're marketing, because we lower the threshold, or we actually remove it entirely. We offer them new revenues and a free service, and we will earn money. Too good to be true, probably, but it's kind of an example of at least try to rethink stuff we're doing and try to find other models. This is also a total unrelated quote by the guy that you all should read, Douglas Adams. But I think it's true. And it gave me a new opportunity to take a sip of my tea. I wanted to show you how we work with Norwegian newspaper. Because when we approach them with our product, as I told you, we also need to onboard them in our way of thinking and influence how they think strategically. And often, when we approach new customers, they have their ideas of what is a fact and not. And they have lots of ideas of what is impossible. So, oh, it's impossible to get this position, it's impossible to get this service working, it's impossible to make people pay for this stuff. They have so many ideas of what is actually possible, so the only thing they think is possible is what they are currently doing. We help them to rethink. And it's kind of a part of what we do. Oh, I have this, so I don't need to, okay. Yeah. We have made relevance actually into part of our brand name, because we think that's one of the keys. You need to be relevant for your users, and you need to rethink relevance. This is some of the brands we're working with. You wouldn't know any one of them. But the story is, I showed you this chart before. this is kind of print revenue, and it's not a very interesting or happy thing to look at. So if you suffer from happiness, you could pull out this chart and have a look at it, and then you will be depressed for the rest of the day. Yeah.
Sorry, I have a comment. For example, in Ukraine, I guess there are lots of medias that still use and prefer print type of media because it's more cheaper to produce magazines or printed, not instead of hiring IT specialists, it's cheaper. That's it.
I doubt it. That can't be the reason.
No, maybe everyone works like that.
No, it can't be the reason. I think the reason is that there's still a demand for the print, and in a way you're lucky because you are this country is probably 5-10 years behind other countries, but that's good for you. It's an opportunity for you guys because you could actually look into what's happening elsewhere, and then you don't need to do the exercise that you did yesterday, trying to build forecasts or what's going to happen. You could just look into other countries and see what's happened there, and then you can see, okay, this will definitely happen in some way in Ukraine too. People will move from print to online, and when they do, they will probably skip the desktop part and go directly to mobile. Because mobile now, 75% of all online traffic in Norway is now mobile. And the change have been just going like this. So when you think online, think mobile. You could skip the desktop in many ways, and that's not. You could build a WordPress site for $20. That's not hard. Much cheaper than paper, but they keep to the printed version for many reasons. Many people in Ukraine have bad internet connections. That's one reason. People are used to it. And I would say if I were working with a strategy for a newspaper here, I would try to keep the newspaper, the print edition or magazine alive as long as possible. Because that is something that protects me, it makes me unique compared to what you guys could create, because you could come up with innovative competition, online competition only, that is much, much better. But the print part in combination with mediocre online operation would kind of make me special in my life. Plus, the revenue from print is still good. So I see that it's a money part. Okay. So Norway, yeah.
Yeah. Do you really think that online media and printed media can compete with each other?
Sure.
Really? What's your point about printed media? Because I really think that they are about to die.
Yeah. They're about to die, but they will not die.
Okay, what's your point? Because I'm really curious about it.
The print will live, but it will kind of it's like radio didn't die, TV won't die, media tend to kind of, even though it's replaced by other media, it tends to stick around. And I think undoubtedly for many years paper has its own quality. It's a different way of, it's a different reader experience. Like when you have a paper in your hand, you read stuff that you will never click on online because it's there and you start to read and then it's interesting, but you would never click on the headline. So I think it will stick around, but it will lose its influence in a way, because online definitely are going to be the major channel for news and content and magazines and video and everything, but expect it to be around and healthy for a long while still. Definitely. And I think that you will see innovation there too. And you will see how media, how kind of the combination between online and print can be really a helpful, strong relationship and help each other. So, yeah, I believe in print. Print is good. It's trees. It's a good way to use a tree.
Are you kidding?
No, not really. I'm an online guy, but I think it will be around for many years. Many years. I will read it, but I don't read it much. But when I do, enjoy it. So I see the value. And magazines, that's another thing. And someone yesterday said that in the future, magazine and printed will probably also be a sign of
I said that. Yeah, it's going to be very like prestigious, I guess.
Yeah.
To buy them, they're going to be quite expensive.
Tell me what you read and I can tell you who you are. Yeah, it's like a identity marker. Yeah. Good question. Bad answer, I guess. Right?
I mean, so yeah, I can accept that, for example, such magazines, for example, as Vogue or Harper's Bazaar, yeah, they will exist.
They will.
Yeah, they will. I'm sure about that. But if we're talking about like the newspaper, like the paper run, I'm not really sure if they make sense anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Let's say that we are 10 years in
design,
front.
whatever.
Let's say that we are 10 years in Scandinavia, 10 years when it comes to media development ahead of you guys. Then it's still there. So what do Norwegian newspaper do to what they do? They introduced 6 years ago, really introduced paid online news. Everybody told that was impossible. I had a ball for many years because I was one of the crazy guys saying, hey, you have to stop giving away your news for free because you're killing your business. You need to make people pay. And people thought that was such a crazy idea that they invited me to China to talk about this stuff, and Asia, and the US. So I was this funny guy that was kind of, instead of the comedian coming in, they invited me to talk about payment for online news. So I did this for many years. And then suddenly they did it, and it worked. Of course it worked. So what do they do now? They bundle. They make it. They basically, when you choose a subscription, they present it in a way that make you realize that you are a complete idiot if you do the online only. Because the price difference between an online only subscription and the online and bundle with newspaper are so small that people choose both. And that's a good strategy to kind of keep it there. And why do they do it? Because actually the newspaper have a high margin on the online only product in many ways, because they don't have to cut the trees, and they don't have to make the paper, and they don't have to print the stuff, and they don't have to carry the newspaper all out to the subscribers. So it's much easier to just set up a server and deliver this product online. But they do it several. It keep them unique. So their position in the locale, in the society there is kind of, it's harder to compete with them because they have both, and it gives them a better offer to the advertisers because they can be online and print. And because they do this, you could say that it's an artificial way to keep the newspaper, the printed edition, alive, but it's working, and it's working well. And young people sometimes even read it, which is good. Yeah, good questions. So this is Norway in a nutshell, declining print circulation, no matter what I said. Declined print and revenues, declining online ad revenues, and we saw this coming because, as I told you yesterday, bidding services. So, and this hit Norwegian newspaper like a falling hammer. 5 years ago, they sold ads manually to local buyers as banner ads. Then suddenly the market just collapsed because the bidding system were introduced, and then the price just dropped like a rock. So this fall, but they see a positive trend on online subscriptions, and what we see these days is that after a decline for many years on subscribers, they now have a quite decent uptick. 85% of Norwegian newspaper now see increased subscription rates because of the online stuff. So what we see is a weakening position. Users actually now tell newspapers that they prefer Facebook as a source of local content, and you are so happy about that, right?
Yes, because like as I'm saying, like our working routine right now, it's not with the newspaper, it's scroll our feed, and it's really hard to change this behavior, like to the point to the newspaper, printed newspaper. So it's really hard to change this pattern of behavior.
Is it impossible?
It's possible, but it's like, does it make sense? I mean,
it's not impossible. It's impossible to change it. Facebook.
Is it necessity to make it?
Not while you are sitting there, but when you sit in the chair of a newspaper organization that want to survive, then it makes a difference. And that's where you belong, right? So, and then you have to believe that it's possible. If not, you will be the one just locking the door after you, turn off the lights, and hang the sign saying bankruptcy.
Sold out.
Sold out. Yeah, it's definitely possible, but not if they pursue the strategy and the way of working that they have done so far. Then it's not possible. But yes, Facebook, and I can show you, I think I have a slide after this showing you how people actually answered this question. Lost personal ads, almost lost local events, almost lost local user-generated content, lost local deals, losing local ads, and on top of that, they have new local competitors popping up all the time. Because the threshold, as I told you, are so low, so you just need kind of, if you are a 16-year-old sitting in your room, you could basically start competing with a newspaper if you have a knack for writing stuff and so. So it's kind of look not that good, but there is a way to fight back. Relevance is a good thing. This is you. And local relevance is kind of, that's where people live. That people care about the local, people care about what's happening around. By listening to readers, you can learn about kind of what they actually care about. And they know what, they really know what they know, they need to know what's going on in their community, they want to know about local deeds. Actually, when newspapers asked about that, they were surprised because people said that we really want to know where to find local deeds or local offers. And it used to be, and then they tried to ask them, okay, what do you do to find local offers? And then they said, well, that's a pain because some years ago I just opened the newspaper and I found kind of shops that had sales going on. But these days, it's all over the place. Maybe it's on Facebook, maybe it's on Instagram, maybe I get a mail, maybe I just happen to see an advertisement on the internet somewhere, but I don't have any way where to actually get an overview of this, because the overview is gone. And that's of course a huge opportunity for the newspaper to take that back. But then they need good services. You can visit our office and the guys there will tell you how to do it, because we have the products. And they want to read news from their organizations, what they are doing, and especially young people. Because they said, well, look what we are doing. We are doing after school. But you never write about it, never care about it, never show yourself. But that's our life, and we want to read about it, and we want to read about what our friend does. And they want information on local events. And they want a personalized service. And this is probably under there, and they want a feed, and they want to be notified, and they want the information to seek them. They don't want to type in some URL to visit a page. And of course this needs to influence how people deliver their products. And what we see when we ask people, what do you think of the product you have today? Do you think we live up to your expectations? Are you happy with what we do? People say no. You deliver a terrible product. And that's not so lots of improvements or possibilities for improvements there. And as I think we touched upon this yesterday, local news is not an island. If you define, and this is new historically, local news and journalism is not an island. It's very, very hard, probably, to build a product just around that. You probably need to build other services and have other initiatives around your products. And as an approach, when you want to improve your products, your approach to this should be, what does it take for us to be important for you guys? To be helpful for you? How can we help? How can we improve your life? How can we make it easier? How can we get you in the know? And when you have that approach, when you discuss this with the readers, the answer will be there. Lots of opportunity. When people think you have a shitty product, then the good thing about it is that then there are room for improvement, probably. And Facebook is not the answer for everything. For local newspapers, the tasks ahead is to see, okay, how can we reclaim the positions that we have lost? And we have lost them because we didn't believe it was possible to keep them. But so actually, I don't think it's there. But one of the first things you need to regain is the belief that it's possible to actually claim it back, that it's possible to fight back, that it's possible to deliver something that people want. And what makes me a bit depressed is that you guys seem to think that that's not possible, but it is. And we have seen lots of examples around Norway and Sweden and in the US and in Canada that it's actually possible. People that have lost belief in their ability to actually take this back, do it. But then, of course, you have to invest, and you have to do that effort. But it's possible to do it. You just have to do it in the right way. So you create a local event calendar, and you do it in a way that interacts with Facebook and social media, so that you actually get the content. And when you get the content, you can present the total overview. And when you have the overview, it's useful for people. And when it's useful for people, it's possible to create business models on top of that. And you start with the super local community content. build a service that harvests the content and present it to the users that find that content, and it's micro content, but find it interesting. Yeah. And you win back the user-generated content. And you win back the marketplace for local offers. Is it possible to do in Ukraine?
Yes. Such thing?
Yeah.
We already have such in Lviv.
Yeah.
Or it's just a bit similar. So this is basically a newspaper, printed one,
Yeah.
with hundreds of different announcements about jobs, about lost found, Ваш magazine. You probably know
But
about it.
it's printed?
Yes.
It is printed, but it's also have the online version.
Yeah.
And how do you guys think it works? Because I'm not sure if it like.
It depends on the topic
Yeah, I mean.
and the audience.
Yeah, but so it's possible to do it. And it has been done. Of course it has been done. Of course it's possible to do it. And of course it's possible to do it even better. So that's my point. So the point is, even stuff that seems to be claimed by Facebook and Google and the other, it's possible to actually do that because we are local, and Ukraine is local, but Lviv is local, and the district in Lviv is local, and the neighborhood in Lviv is local, and technology can combine all this stuff. As long as we know you and we have a relationship with you as a reader. Okay. And then local engagement, local progress. To build upon that, because that's what community needs. Community needs something, as we discussed yesterday, one of the basic needs is a sense of belonging. We need to be part of something. We need to feel that we are included in something. And if we can deliver on that, then we're good. And we actually do an important thing for our community. This is one of the examples of what we have helped create. Did I mention this this is a small town far up north. So you complain about the weather in Ukraine, but you should go to Harstad. And you will come back and think that you live in paradise, yeah. No, Harstad is great actually, but it's a bit cold. They had a problem because all the content flowing in from the grassroots organizations like sport clubs and football clubs and chess clubs, historical clubs, it's a huge variety of organizations. They were not present on the newspaper anymore. They used to send like reports and photos and stuff to the newspaper, but it was gone. And then they noticed that that content was actually important. Several reasons for that. But then they also noticed that as a newspaper newsroom, they didn't really know what was going on anymore. So they had kind of lost the relationship with all these organizations. As a local newspaper, that's not good. So they wanted to bring it back, and how could they beat Facebook on this? So they decided to join us, and our recipe is you can beat Facebook, but you could live side by side and you can piggyback. So you could swim with a shark. So what this service does is that each organization get their own homepage on the system. They connect that homepage with Facebook, and then when you post something on Facebook, it's automatically made into an article, posted on the system. When it's posted on the system, it's automatically posted on the front page on the newspaper in a widget. So what they gain is all the content flow into the newspaper. All the content is made visible for the whole community, and then what happens then? All the clubs there suddenly have something they can sell to sponsors. And they're happy because they have a new source of revenue coming in, because sponsors are willing to pay since they are there. And then they have a new relationship with all these small organizations, and many reasons why this is important. But one of the not so obvious reasons is who normally sits in as a president in a club, for instance. It's also someone in a leadership position in a business. So suddenly they have kind of important relationship with lots of important people in the community again. And this works. They introduced this after 2 months. They had like 80% of all the organizations in the town that was active using this system. And after half a year, they saw that people actually started to publish here first, and then it was automatically by the platform published on their Facebook page. And why did they do that? They did that because here they have, when they did it that way, they had much better control of how the content actually were looking, because it's an easy WYSIWYG editor, and the photo was better because Facebook, they encrypt and compress the photos, and it was easier. For the newspaper, they've reported that they get, sometimes they have as much as 15 to 20% of the traffic coming from this kind of content. The newsroom, they told us that suddenly they have an overview of what's going on. So they kind of interact with this platform because they see, oh, we didn't know about this. This is a great local initiative. Let's make some journalism on top of this stuff. And because they started to do journalism on top of content on this platform, it was even more popular to publish grassroots content on this platform, and then you have something going on. So it's just one example of how it's possible for a newspaper organization to kind of interact with the community and create something that works, even though people have defined it as impossible.
I never said that this is impossible. I'm just saying that
I
this
know.
is not necessary.
I know, but it's much better for me if I pretend that you said it was impossible. So this is basically what we do. We utilize available sources. This is how you connect the calendar information to Facebook, fetch. So we kind of use the social tools as our means of collecting and harvesting content, and then as a news organization you could refine it and with more value on top of it, and present something that is better than what Facebook are able to do, because they don't care about the community. Not really.
Facebook?
Yeah. And they don't have the know-how. They don't have the local knowledge to really do a good job.
Okay, but what do you think about such? Well, I know that in Cleveland and from kids, one of them kids, they have such groups of people on Facebook,
Yeah.
for example, like, yeah, and so they share like, different announcements about traffic, about events,
Sure,
about such
sure.
things. So
Yeah. But then you have really, but they should do that on another platform, because now they are just creating money for Zuckerberg. Why should they do that? Why not do it on their own platform and then use Facebook in a better way? So I know those initiatives are good and it's really making rich, but I should rethink. They should rethink the model. So this is one example, and this is something I think is fascinating with the technology, that you can have content like this. This is totally insignificant. It will never make the front page. It's kind of boys born in 2007, or is it girls? Boys probably playing football. So it will never reach a headline. But for these parents, this is the most important stuff going on. So if you could report this stuff to them, it's great news. It's really involving news. They are so happy to get access to this. And when we have a service that we know them and we know that they are connected to this, it's a value for us as a news organization, because it enables us to give them content that we know that they care about. And if you could do that stuff, you could do magic. And journalists can't be everywhere. And that's why we need to think new when it comes to journalism also. I will just click through this, but also this is how how you could build journalism on top of this grassroots news. So basically you have your audience, they produce the groundwork, and then you could produce more value and quality on top of it, or the best of it. And that, I think that is kind of something we will see even more of in the future. And I'm pretty sure someone is doing it here in Ukraine as well. Yeah, this is just so basically, and this is the data we need to know in order to make something really useful for people. If we get our readers to tell us where they live, if they tell us what kind of interest they have, it doesn't have to be local. You could do this in the same way when it comes to niches or other interests. If they tell us kind of what kind of organizations they are really involved in, if they tell us what kind of organizers they want to follow, or what kind of concerts, or what kind of music, or what kind of whatever, and if they, even on top of that, tell you a little bit about like what kind of offers would you like to have, then you have gold. You have so much value, and you have every opportunity in the world to make a perfect service for them. Yeah, and this is just Hitafreya, how they kind of ask people to actually give them this. Oh, yeah. So, what time? Are you the one keeping track of my time?
10 minutes.
Yeah. So, have you been thinking about the tasks? The 4 tasks.
Yeah.
Is it something you would be interested in looking into? Because today I think it would be good to have a little bit more time than 50 minutes to look into it. I would love to help, but I would also love to be able to suck your ideas, but I can give you credit if there's something good. I have something else I would like to show you later today, but in a way I think it would be good to get going on those tasks. Yeah, unless you have, do you have questions, by the way? Not yet. Do you remember let's see, the 4 tasks. There we go. So the one is, how can you make a media house that this country needs? Maybe combine it with some of the other stuff, the options, namely how could you outcompete. That is even better if you think that there is a media house here in Ukraine that needs to die. You could combine 2 things in one. You could outcompete it with something really, really better, something this country needs. That would be good. So that's one. There is some, in this task, I would like to describe what kind of resources you think you would need. But basically, I think the less resources you think you need to do this, the more innovative you are forced to think in terms of how to make this work. And why do I think that's important? I think it's important because that's how news organizations around the world are forced to think today. They are forced to rethink how they work and to create more with less resources every day. Most of the organizations I meet are 50% smaller than they used to be 10 years ago. Some of them are just 30% of what they used to be. And they more or less produce the same stuff, but they do it in different ways. And they know that in the future they need to change even more. And that's why I think this is kind of a good way to think. How, and if you are kind of forced to really, you know, in the theory when you work with innovation, it's a known fact that if you ask people to improve something 20%, the answer is normally to just work 20% faster. But if you ask someone to improve 60%, they realize that they really need radical innovation and to really, really work differently. So that was number 2. And then option 3 is just to describe how to build a new media operation based on the membership model. How would that influence? How could it be done? How could it be launched? What would it mean for the offering? How could you build that relationship? How could you make people pay? What does it need in order to onboard people into this new idea? How could it be branded? How could it be communicated? Who should you start with? What would be the target group? That kind of stuff. As you can see, I like wide open-ended tasks. And then finally, how to build trust. How could you build trust into an existing media organization between readers or members or subscribers or the public and the media organization? If you can solve this, and definitely think it's possible, it will always also be needed in this country, of course. It's needed everywhere. And the answer is probably not to find a way to stop Donald Trump tweeting. Any questions now for this?
We have to create new groups, or
I think you choose, because the best thing would be to find people that think that have the same idea of which group to actually, or task to actually work with. I think maybe we were discussing yesterday some pens and stuff like this. If it's not here, we will maybe find it. Is it possible to?
yes, I'll bring it.
Yeah, great. How much time do you need to create magic around this?
We have 7 minutes. As I understand, we have 7 minutes until break. Maybe we will think it out on a break and deliver it.
Yeah, and start to work on this after the break.
Yeah, you prefer to not use a break to actually work?
No.
Okay, so then we come back here after the break. You could discuss groups and everything, and then we start, right? Good.
If it's possible, maybe we can start
Yeah.
a bit earlier.
Or we can discuss.
You could combine them. Yes, I think it's much opportunities if you combine this stuff actually. So this will not be graded, so you can do whatever you want to. As long as it will be genius work. Yeah. Okay. Thanks so much.